Hi everyone, I'm really glad you could join us. I want to know, do you know who lives here?
Take a good look. Do you know who lives there? That's right, it's the Queen. Let's try another one. Who lives in this house? You got it, it's the Paw Patrol gang. Now for a hard one. Who lives here? It's the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Now let's try some other houses.
Do you know who lives here? That's right, it's the Brown family. Does this house look familiar? That's right, it's the Jacksons. Do you know this one? It's the Clough's house. And what about this one? It's the Mitchells. I've lived in loads of different places, and now I live here. In the first few pages of the Bible, in the book of Genesis, we learn about two people called Adam and Eve. They lived in the Garden of Eden. God had made the garden that they lived in, and it was good. I mean, really good. I mean, really, really, really good. And it was really, really, really good because they lived there with God. And living with God was amazing. But sadly, even though living with God was so good, Adam and Eve decided to ignore God, and they didn't listen to him. You know what it's called when we ignore God, right? Yep, it's called sin.
And because of their sin, they couldn't live with God anymore. They had to leave the garden. And life without God was rubbish. Suddenly there was pain, sadness, suffering, and death. Sin had spoiled everything.
And before you think, well, I wouldn't have done that, the sad truth is that we all sin. So we can't live with God either. And that's why we experience pain, sadness, suffering, and death. Now, I'm not confused. I know that we've been looking at the book of Revelation, not Genesis. But trust me, what happens at the beginning of the Bible helps us to understand what happens at the end of it. Look at what John saw in the next bit of his vision and see if it reminds you of anywhere.
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth had disappeared. And I saw the holy city coming down out of heaven from God. This holy city is the New Jerusalem. It was prepared like a bride dressed for her husband. I heard a loud voice from the throne. The voice said, "Now God's home is with his people. He will live with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them and will be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, sadness, crying or pain. All the old ways are gone." The one who was sitting on the throne said, "Look, I'm making everything new." Anyone who wins the victory will receive this, and I will be his God. But those who refuse to believe, who do evil things, will not enter the city.
Did what John saw remind you of anywhere? Yeah, it was like the Garden of Eden, only better. John got to see the future, and in the future, God is going to make everything new. And sinful people, people like you and me, will live with God. We'll be together, just like he was with Adam and Eve in the garden. It will be amazing. No tears, no suffering, no pain, no death, no sin, no bad things ever.
That means no more trips to the doctors or taking medicine, no more arguments or fighting with our friends or family, no more people going hungry or being hurt, and no more watching the people we love get sick or die.
It's going to be good. I mean, really, really, really good. Nah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be like a bride dressed for her husband on her wedding day. It's going to be amazing because God will be there, living with us, which means no more bad or sad things ever again. God is making everything new. It's going to be amazing. Like the Garden of Eden, only better. Because this time it'll last forever and there'll be no sin to spoil it. I bet John was really excited when he saw it. I know I'm excited just thinking about it.
But hang on, how can people like us live with God? We've all sinned. We can't live with him. Well, God told John in his vision. God said, "Those who are victorious will receive all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But those who refuse to believe, who do evil things, will not enter the city."
Those that are victorious, that means winners, will get to live with God. Now, we've seen in Revelation loads of battles, and we've seen Jesus win every single one. He even took on death by dying on a cross. And he won, because 3 days later, he rose from the dead. Jesus always wins. He is victorious. And anyone who stops ignoring him and starts loving and trusting him is victorious too.
So sinful people like you and me can live with God, not because of anything we've done, but because of what Jesus has done for us. Sadly, not everyone will get to live there though. Jesus said the people who keep ignoring him won't get to live with him. Revelation has shown us that loving and trusting Jesus can be hard. Our friends might laugh at us or leave us out. It's hard to love Jesus more than all the other things that we love. We might even suffer for loving and trusting Jesus. And it doesn't always look or feel like Jesus is winning or worth it.
But what John saw shows us where we're going to live in the future. Better than Buckingham Palace or Swanee Road, we're going to live with God. And it's going to be amazing. So don't give up. Stick with Jesus, because if you do, you'll be victorious. And one day, you won't just read about Jesus in the Bible, you'll get to live with him forever in his amazing new creation.